Hello, and welcome to IRI Growth Insights, featuring IRI thought leaders, industry partners, and guests. For more than 40 years, IRI has been known for its invaluable data, but these podcasts delve into the insights the data reveal to fuel market disruption and market growth for those in the CPG, retail, healthcare, and media markets. I'm your host, Joan Driggs, coming to you from IRI's corporate headquarters in Chicago. Hello, and welcome to another episode of IRI Growth Insights. Today, I'm joined by some industry partners from sales and marketing services company CROSSMARK, Danielle Fand, Director of Analytics and Insights, and Beth Faught, Director of Retail. Today, we're going to be talking about the 2021 in-store experience. And Danielle, I'd like to start with you. So welcome, and please tell us a little bit about what we're experiencing as we kick off 2021.
Thank you, Joan, for hosting this. Some of the things that we're experiencing as we kick off 2021 is obviously our post-COVID environment as it relates to consumer behaviors changing and shifting, what we've seen in 2020 and what we are predicting for 2021. We're seeing a lot of bulk pack buying, larger basket sizes as consumers shop the store, and lower trips. And that is continuing into 2021. And some of the behavioral changes will stick as we move on to future years as well.
Okay, we're gonna come back to that. Some of that, what will stick. So Beth, welcome. What are you seeing?
Thank you for having me, Joan. We're really excited for 2021 to hopefully get back to somewhat of a norm for our retail team. So I lead a team of retail representatives across the nation, calling on stores in mass and grocery. And as you know, 2020 absolutely flipped upside down for us in terms of how we go to market and our experience in store. So, for me, the best part is continuing to see the retail reps go in every day and having those daily wins. And for me, seeing their individual contributions in each of their stores really come together and have an impact for our clients is always, really remarkable, whether it's packing out thousands of units of product or driving compliance on a display at a particular retailer. We will continue to do those things in 2021. And then continue to weather the storm until it kind of smooths out for us. And, really proud of our reps in 2020 for not skipping a beat and weathering the storm and getting the job done.
That's really nice, Beth. You're very proud of your team and how they kind of managed all this chaos. But what are some of the behaviors or some of the things that changed for your team and your business that you're still kind of grappling with, or that might be the new normal moving forward?
Yeah, so my team is really focused on analyzing the category. And pre-COVID, we were obviously focused on the 4 Ps, right? But because there have been a lot of supply constraints and a lot of new ancillary brands that have been able to enter the market and create a new entrance within categories, we have been hyper-focused on the shelf, really ensuring that what it has made its way to the shelf is productive on behalf of our retailers. And if it's not, bringing it to their attention and making sure that all of the brands that contribute to the sales of the category are getting their fair share of shelf. So from that end, a lot of our focus has been at the shelf and ensuring that our retailers are really getting the most ROI for what is on the shelf.
And do those constraints continue? Some of that on-shelf availability, is that still a big challenge?
Yes, we are facing challenges across many categories due to consumer demand and, the new behaviors that we've seen displayed during COVID with stock up. A lot of our major suppliers and the number 1 and 2 brands in the categories are really struggling with keeping up with those supply constraints. And then some of the clients that we work with are really facing them And we don't see any light at the end of the tunnel until at least back half of the year. So we'll continue to see that moving forward. The stock up trips and the bulk buying is not going to go away for a lot of these categories that are staples within households.
So, we've done, IRI has done some work on displays and stuff, and we see that displays are down across the store, and even the number of products are on display. And from what I'm hearing you say, Danielle, that makes sense because companies don't necessarily want to promote what they can't guarantee is going to be there. Mm-hmm. But tell me a little bit more about what that means to your in-store activation.
Yeah, so for us, no different than our business insights team being focused on the shelf. So is our retail activation team. We are focused on the shelf, number one. And if we can build displays, that's gravy on top, but the shelf must be right. 2020 was obviously a challenging year, and it's continuing into 2021 for our clients with regards to inventory. So due to the increased demand or the panic buying, so to speak, with COVID, which just left the shelves completely wiped out. We all remember the toilet paper shortages of 2020 that we are certainly glad to not be experiencing any longer. So when that happened, we quickly pivoted our retail team to focus our efforts in stores that had inventory on hand. The last thing we want to do is send a retail rep into a store that doesn't have inventory. It would be the worst use of our labor spend. So by leveraging data, we could identify stores with available inventory, say on a Friday, and send a retail rep in on a Saturday. So what it did is really forced us to be more nimble than ever before and adjust to drive the best ROI we could for the labor spend for our clients. And I think really that's just a glimpse of what the future of retail will continue to evolve to.
When you mentioned making sure that you were sending people to the right place on where product was available, but at the same time, I've seen this huge increase in e-commerce, and a lot of the fulfillment happens at the store. And that kind of has to be a little bit of a wrench for your teams as well.
Absolutely. In the stores, we're seeing a reduction of in-store associates or reorganization of the associates as more of the sales are shifting to online. So the associates who would normally work in a store or in a department specifically are being shifted or reallocated to fulfill click and collect orders. So it's definitely requiring associates now that are still out on the floor to oversee multiple departments, making it even more imperative that our retail reps can engage quickly and purposefully in that limited time that we have. We actually ran a survey at CROSSMARK with all of our retail associates to just gauge the retail climate and get feedback. And really the overwhelming feedback was store associates are extremely stressed, they're overworked, they're multitasking more than ever. We have store managers packing out product just to the shelf, again, just to get it done. So we have, greater amount of staff working overnight to fulfill those online orders that are just coming in constantly. And at the end of the day, it just really limits the time that our retail reps have for their attention. So with that comes more holes on the shelf, product in the wrong place on the shelf, maybe product sitting in the back room longer than desired. It's definitely presenting new challenges in store. A great example, a retail drug client of ours recently asked us to staff to help fill online orders. Their associates themselves couldn't have enough staff to get those online orders filled. And so I think it's just interesting to see how our service offerings at CROSSMARK are continuing to evolve as the consumer evolves.
Yes, and to tag on to what you said, Beth, as the staff is shifting to different priorities, we also know that retailers are investing in these micro fulfillment centers to help alleviate the in-store pressures of on-shelf availability and fulfill those orders in a micro fulfillment center. And then also to help with the on-shelf availability, they've invested in robotics to help scan the products at the shelf to ensure that we've got inventory. And if we don't have inventory, make sure that those orders are prioritized in the back room for fulfillment on shelf.
So are these new offerings then for you? I mean, obviously, Beth, with you talking about, your team being asked to do completely different jobs. I mean, that's just okay, we're all in it together. Let's be flexible. Let's get this job done. But at the end of the day, I mean, are you developing new services based on some of the things that you've been going through?
Danielle mentioned robotics, and we're definitely seeing robots being tested and leveraged for various reasons in the store, whether it's to help with inventory management or to pinpoint maybe where an item is out of stock at the shelf, or even aisle cleanup for that matter. The theory being that when working in conjunction with the robots, that it will free up the associates' time, or in our case, the retail reps' time, to be more productive with other tasks. I think we're still a ways out of things becoming fully automated or flawless in that regard. Referencing back to the survey that we ran with our retail reps in Walmart, specifically we have robots that can scan the aisles for out of stock. It doesn't necessarily recognize if an item has been placed in the wrong location. So at first glance, the aisle may look flawless, completely stocked, but a closer inspection from a human eye, or a retail rep in this case, reveals that maybe the item's in the wrong location. So in some regards, our services are still somewhat intact, right? We're still ensuring that the tags are correct, the product is packed out on the shelf, that it's faced and it's in the right location and according to planogram, et cetera. So I think the future of what our services will look like is going to maybe continue to evolve as these robots get smarter, and then does ultimately free up time, for us to do different tasks. So it's exciting to see, but I don't think we're totally there yet in regards to shifting our whole model yet.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about, what we do see in store for 2021, because we kind of mentioned, we've been going back and forth, but we did mention that displays and stuff are down. Trade spend has changed or shifted or gone away. Do you anticipate that coming back soon?
Yeah, so what we're seeing as categories are lifted from supply constraints, trade promotions will be coming back, and trade is available to spend. However, it will be spended and shifted in different ways. For example, in-ad features may shift to online shopper marketing programs, so that manufacturers can use those trade dollars in a more efficient way to drive the in-store shopping experience, or out of store for that matter. We know that e-com sales have grown exponentially through the COVID time frame, and that will continue. When we'll see that level off, we don't know. But I think that manufacturers are really going to be looking at how they can optimize their trade dollars moving forward. And a lot of it, again, is shopper marketing promotions. And also, they are really taking a look at how their products are advertised on retailers' e-com websites. So, for example, if a consumer were to go in and try to find a specific brand, or they're looking for products within a category, will their brand actually show up when that consumer is shopping? So those things are being analyzed, and as they are finding opportunities, they bring it to the forefront during category review season to ensure that their offerings are displayed against competition.
Yeah, that online search is so important. And I think things are changing too with what or how people are searching. Certainly we have more shoppers online, but our occasions have shifted, especially right now. We're still, schools are opening up, some work is opening up, but at the same time, so many more of those meal occasions are occurring at home, and people are looking for inspiration. They're looking for some support, like just help me get it quickly. And tell me about your work in that area and how you're helping or how you're promoting some of this digital marketing or searchability.
So some of the things that we're doing, again, is just kind of working retailer by retailer to ensure that the searchability is there for non-food. Some of the things that we're seeing in consumer demand is they want that dine-in experience at home. So we've got retailers partnering with chefs and sommeliers to create those prepared meals in store. and have them available in store so that consumers can either order them online or pick them up in store where available.
And do you see like the return of hot bars and things like that? I mean, is that coming back, or are we just going to stick with packaged goods?
We are seeing hot bars return in store. It's definitely a trend that's on the uptick now that we're seeing the engagement in store increase over time.
That's great. So Beth, let's talk with you a little bit about some of the anticipated in-store activation. What is that going to look like?
Yeah, so for us, no different than manufacturers looking to optimize their trade spend, as Danielle mentioned, they too are looking to optimize retail spend so that we're getting the best ROI possible for that retail labor dollars. And as you know, retailers are faced with significant challenges to fill every gap on every shelf. And with the associate reduction in store that we talked about earlier, resources are spread very thin. So even if an out of stock or a phantom inventory issue is identified, having the time to take action on it isn't even always feasible. So we've been able to partner with companies like IRI and RSI to identify where we have on-shelf availability issues and alert our field team to address those in store specifically. So ultimately, we've been able to recapture millions of dollars in potential lost sales by fixing the issue before it can really get out of hand. And the return on investment is really unparalleled to any other in-store executional activity that we could be doing because it's a known issue, data-driven, and it's getting fixed on a daily basis. So I think that's just kind of a glimpse of where we're going is if we can leverage data to identify where we have either an opportunity or on the flip side an issue, and then we can address, we had to put the right rep in the right store at the right time. It's kind of a win-win and really delivers the best ROI. That's the direction that we are, charging down and will continue to head down into 2021.
And is that, I know I'm using this word measurable only because I've heard it so much. You're identifying opportunities, you're staffing for opportunities. Are you able to measure the success when you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're able to identify in partnership with IRI and RSI the potential lost sales that could have occurred had we not fixed that issue. So we're able to quantify the dollars that are essentially recaptured sales for the manufacturers and then, bounce that up against the cost of going to retail. And the ROI is quite phenomenal in terms of the return that you get for the spend.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about, what the rosy outlook for 2021 is going to be and, what the impact is going to be on your business or how your business is going to affect that rosy outcome.
Yeah, I think in 2021, because of the business that we're in and most of what our coverage from a headquarters standpoint is, the grocery channel will continue to win. So grocery versus mass, convenience, club, and then also we'll continue to see the e-com sales rise, right? So our clients will win from that perspective. And as consumers, shift their behavior and changes that we'll see in 2021, it will really depend category by category as to how that all shakes out.
Do you think some of the categories that have done so well will continue a little bit, or do you see some? You've already talked a little bit about like meals increasing, some more of that going back to the fresh prepared and stuff. But does that mean that we're going to see maybe less reliance on frozen or, some of the other categories that really popped during the pandemic?
Frozen is actually one of the departments that it's really growing exponentially. There's been a lot of innovation in frozen when we look at natural and organics. So that will continue to be on the rise. I think that shelf-stable food has seen a lot of growth amidst, the pandemic. I think that also when we look at staple categories like cleaning supplies and household supplies, those will continue to increase as well over time.
Yeah, I do think, to your point, I really do like the fact that Center Store, a lot of people were giving Center Store like a fresh review during the pandemic. So I think that there's some new buyers or some regained buyers based on the pandemic. And I agree with you. I don't think that that's just going to fall away in 2020.
Yes. I mean, if you look at pre-COVID, the perimeter of the store was really growing, produce, meat, all of our fresh categories were really growing. But these new behaviors have really shifted to Center Store. And it's actually nice to see some of these categories winning again.
Right. And Beth, how about you? What do you see on the horizon? I mean, you've mentioned ROI a lot, but how are things going to change? And what is our in-store experience going to look like in a couple months?
So as consumer behavior continues to evolve, so must our retail operations in reaction to that. I mentioned leveraging data will continue to become imperative. I think ultimately will become the norm for how we go to retail as data becomes more available for more and more retailers. We will have the ability to leverage that data to put the reps in the right places. I think that's just one example. We talked about, OSA alerting our reps. I think that's just one example of what will become the norm. And that's that insights will continue to drive our actions. And then ultimately, like I said, deliver maximum ROI for every retail dollar spent. I think we look forward to an increase in inventory, getting back to normal. We look forward to the increase in data availability, increase in COVID vaccines. I mean, all the things that will help get us back to a place where our retailers are open and we can really get the job done that we're there to do. And that's to drive sales for our clients.
That's great. Well, I want to just kind of recap by highlighting a couple of the big things that I heard from you. And that was that throughout the pandemic, your business has really been there as a partner to your retailers and your manufacturers and kind of offering up a lot of flexibility and a lot of energy to get the job done. So thanks to you for kind of making that happen. As we look ahead, you are anticipating a return of more traditional in-store activation. Some of the things that I look for, like all the end aisle displays and stuff like that. But it's nice to see that there's going to be some more positive shifts in store. Coming back with the fresh prepared offerings. People are still going to be spending more of their money in store and grocery in particular. But some of those big growth areas still have a lot to offer consumers, even as we regain our mobility. So I'm with you. I'm still holding out for the vaccine. My time will come soon. And I will look forward to getting back to whatever normal happens to be. So with that, I want to thank both of you for your time and look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, Joan, for giving us this opportunity to talk with you today. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Joan. Great discussion today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. Please become a subscriber and let us know what you want to learn more about. We'll serve it up in a future IRI Growth Insights episode. Look for us wherever you get your podcasts and be sure to review IRI Growth Insights. Also, visit us on the web at iriworldwide.com and connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn.